Good day, mathematicians. We're going to do a quick review of fractions. It's been a long time since we've talked about fractions, but I wanted to remind you of a few big concepts that we talked about in school. The first was we talked about a unit fraction. So let me see if this rings a bell. Take a look at this. It's our poster from class. So remember, a unit fraction represents one part of a whole. So if we were talking about fourths, 1/4 is a unit fraction. So remember, the magic is the numerator of a unit fraction is always 1, okay? We talked about how you could take a fraction like 3/6 and we could partition it into unit fractions. So remember, we were talking about going back to kindergarten when your kindergarten teacher would say 3 is the same as 1 plus 1 plus 1. And in math, we talked about how in 4th grade, we say 3/6 is the same as 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6. Then we fast forwarded to 2nd grade when your teachers taught you that multiplication was the shortcut for addition. So instead of saying 3/6 is 1/6 plus 1/6 plus 1/6, we said, oh, that's actually 3 times 1/6. So on the poster, you can see it says a fraction can be written as a product of a whole number and a unit fraction. And the example here is 8/10. We could do 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 1/10 plus 8 times, or we could say it's just 8 times 1/10. Okay, remember that? So that was our first big concept about unit fractions. Remember, the unit fraction always has what as the numerator? 1. Okay, the next thing we talked about was adding and subtracting fractions. So we did a packet. You might remember this packet. I'll show you, here it is. So this packet, these are just examples. This is the packet that you already did. And it had like 3/7 plus 2/7. Well, we would add 3/7 and 2/7, and we would end up with 3, 4, 5, 5/7. So I can show you 3/8 plus 2/8. So remember, we were using our fraction blocks like this. And so we have 3/8 plus 2/8, and we're saying, oh, this was just like kindergarten when your kindergarten teacher would say, oh, if you have 3 plus 2, how many do you have? And you would put them all together and you would count. And then we said, now that we're in 4th grade and learning fractions, we can see that 3/8 plus 2/8 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eighths. So we realize that when we're adding, we just add the numerator and the denominator, which is the number on the bottom. The denominator stays the same. Okay, so back to this packet that you already did in class. If we were to subtract, we would be following the same method. So let's look at this example. 8/10 take away 5/10. So if we go back to our blocks and we say, let's look at our tenths. And we start with 8 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8/10, and we're going to take away 5 of them, just like kindergarten when you took away the blocks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 8/10 take away 5/10, and we're left with 1, 2, 3 tenths. So we're really just subtracting the numerator, the number on the top, and the denominator, the number on the bottom, stays the same. I know you remember that. Remember? Okay, the next concept we talked about was making one whole. So we can use our tenths again, and we were looking at how many tenths did it take to equal one whole. So we talked about if we took like a candy bar and we split it into pieces, how many pieces will we have to eat the whole candy bar? So if we were splitting it into 10 pieces, we would have to eat all 10 pieces, 10/10, to equal one whole candy bar. If we took that same candy bar, this would be my preference, and cut it into 4 pieces, sharing it with 3 other people, right? There'd be 4 of us. If we wanted to eat the whole candy bar, we would have to eat 4/4. Okay, what else did we work with today? 1/8. So if we wanted to have 1 whole candy bar and we had 8 pieces, cut it into 8 pieces, we would have to eat, how many would we have to eat to make 1 whole? Any guesses? Did you guess 8/8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8/8. So the numerator and the denominator are the same when you're getting to 1 whole. Okay, the last concept that we talked about was comparing fractions. So let me take you to our activity book that we did. You did this page already long ago by now. Here it is. So we were comparing fractions, unit fractions. Remember, unit fractions, the numerator is always 1. So if we were looking at this, 1/6, 1/8, and 1/5. Let's see if I can find my blocks for 1/6, 1/8, and 1/5. Okay, and this one is saying in order from least to greatest. So 1/6, 1/8, and 1/5. So I'm going to pull my blocks apart. 1/6, 1/8, and 1/5. 1/6, 1/8, and 1/5. So remember, we noticed that the larger the denominator, the smaller the piece. So if we put these in order from least to greatest, we would have 1/8, 1/6, and then 1/5. And remember, we talked about like the pizza or the candy bar, where if we were sharing with 5 people, we would get a bigger piece than if we were sharing with 6 people. And likewise, we would get a bigger piece than if we were sharing with 8 people. If we had to cut that same candy bar into 8 pieces, each piece would be smaller. Remember that? So we did that page in our activity book where we put those numbers or those fractions in order. Okay? And we noticed, again, I'll say it one more time, as the denominator gets bigger, put them in order, the piece or fraction gets smaller. So for the next couple of days, you're just going to be practicing these concepts that we already did through Think Central, doing activity book pages that we already did, only you can do them through the computer, through Think Central. And remember, you get there through Clever. Email me if you have any trouble getting into Clever. And when you're done, turn it in and I can see what you have done. Thanks. Hope you have fun doing fractions.